the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, mobilized members nationwide for a rally scheduled for Tuesday. In Ekiti State, academic activities at various universities were brought to a halt following a peaceful demonstration by lecturers under the Academic Staff Union of Universities. The demonstration took place simultaneously across all campuses, including Ekiti State University, ASUU Ekiti, Bamidele Olumilua University of Education, Science and Technology, and the Federal University Oye Ekiti. The action was in response to unmet demands as confirmed by the Akure Zonal Coordinator, Professor Adéọlá Egbedokun, during a press conference.
An end to the continuous pauperization of our members. Our salary, our take-home pay can no longer take us anywhere. Cannot take us away out of this campus. ASUU has been patient, but our patience at this stage has become expired.
Government agreed to sign an agreement in 2009, saying that this agreement will be signed and be reviewed every 4 years. A simple arithmetic can show us how many 4 years can we now see between 2009 up to this moment. They are not ready, and I want to tell them that the time of honeymoon is over.
Because it has been brandished all over. The ASUU hasn't gone on strike for the last 2 years because government has done everything for us. That is the lie that government is peddling out there. But I want to tell you, government has not done anything in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We can confirm that to you. Our silence for those years are not weakness. Our endurance is not submission. If government insists on continuing this path of betrayal, then it alone must carry the course of history. The ball is no longer in our court. It is squarely in the court of the government. Let them choose justice or judgment.
For more insight on this, we're joined by a lecturer at the University of Lagos, Kenneth Ikenwa. Mr. Ikenwa, it's good to have you join us. Can you just explain how the persistent neglect of ASUU's demands reflects on Nigeria's tertiary education policy framework and implementation mechanisms?
Thanks, Judith. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here.
Before I take anything, it's very important that I state categorically.
Okay.
I mean, I want this to be cast in stone, but I'm not speaking on behalf of ASUU.
Okay.
I'm not giving the authority or the mandate to speak on behalf of ASUU, but I'm a member of ASUU. I'm a beneficiary of ASUU. I've been beneficiated by ASUU, and I speak as a concerned, patriotic lover of Nigeria and as an educator of almost 2 decades. So I want that, to be stated and cast in stone. Back to the crux of the matter. I want to begin by asking the question, how far a country can really go when you neglect the educational sector and then you neglect it to the detriment of other sectors in the economy? Because when you neglect education, definitely other sectors will suffer. And we see that in the character deficit that we're seeing in the country and in the economic deficits that we're seeing in different ecosystems across the country. And let's move away from that and come back to ASUU proper. Now you asked, what are the problems or what are the ensuing issues that crop up if we continue to have this persistence and this attitude towards tertiary education in Nigeria? Now, it's all over. I mean, you don't need any soothsayer to be able to tell you that or a crystal ball. It's in the indexes. It's in the indicators. We have a low rating of Human Development Index for Nigeria across the almost 150 or 150 countries in the world. We have a low rating of Global Competitiveness Index in the Global Competitiveness Index, according to the World Economic Forum. We also have a very high rating, very high index of brain drain in Nigeria. So you can see that the neglect of that sector, the neglect of the university and the tertiary educational system or the public educational system across the federal, the state and local government levels is leading to a lot of brain drain. And then there is, this high drain in skilled labor, skilled immigration. A lot of our skilled Nigerians are leaving the country for what they call greener pastures, and they're being attracted by other countries to the detriment of our economic growth and our economic development. What does this translate to? It means we have low-skill liquidity in Nigeria to be able to position the economy for the necessary growth impetus, for the necessary growth catalyst that needs to be driven organically. What else does it mean? It means that as a country, we are left out of the global market inclusiveness. What else does this indicate? It means that we will be having persistently the problems of, poor employability of Nigerian graduates and poor competitiveness of Nigerian graduates, not just outside Nigeria, but within Nigeria. And this has translated most pathetically to what the government is not even taking cognizance of, and that is capital flight. Now, the statistics and the data is out there. Between 2010 and 2020, not even 2020 to 2025, well over $28 billion was expended by Nigerians on foreign education. Imagine if we were able to save that, plow that back into our economy, plow that back into our federal universities, federal polytechnics, and federal and public educational system, where that would have taken us to. I bet you that we would be on the way to the moon right now as a first African nation to put a man on the moon.
I must say that we, as you can see from the live visuals there, whilst you were giving your submissions, were just some of the rallies and demonstrations we've seen. We also do have scenes as well from the University of Lagos. Our correspondent, Omolola Ololade, was at the University of Lagos, your university where you tutor, and she brought us this report. So let's play that. Take a look.
Chanting solidarity songs and carrying placards with various slogans on the importance of education, members of Academic Staff Union of Universities, UNILAC chapter, joined their colleagues across the country to embark on a demonstration as part of its effort to pressure the federal government in addressing its long-standing demands.
The government made promises on these issues, but regrettably, we are here today to inform the Nigerian public, through you, the press, that these undisputed issues could lead to a crisis in our educational sector.
For students, the rally is disrupting the ongoing examinations. They hope a strike will be averted to avoid further delays to their academic progress.
Everybody's out here for their own interest. My interest is to write my exams and finish up on time. So, and then what they are doing now is I'm supposed to have a paper today, but that has been cancelled, postponed for other times. And I'm hoping that this doesn't escalate before I'm able to finish my exams.
I want the government to pay up the lecturers so that they can teach and do what they're supposed to do. But then it is going to be of more disadvantage to the students. So the best thing is just for the government to pay up the lecturer and everybody will be fine.
While acknowledging that students are a priority, the lecturers emphasize that a strike is necessary to push better pay, benefits and infrastructure, which will ultimately benefit students and the education system as a whole.
When you have tutorial problem, financial issues, how do you stay well in the classroom and teach your students? Okay, so we also have to understand ourselves. Just as we are fighting for them, they can also not be allowed to study under dilapidated condition.
Our work is not like those of any other people, any other category of workers, whereby when they go on strike, everything is down. No. Even while I'm on strike, I am still working, I am still researching, I am still into community service. And by the time we come back, we now give extra lectures. At the time, I was teaching people physically as well as online, to ensure we meet up with the schedule. So our students, we always take them into consideration and we'll do our utmost to ensure that they don't suffer in any way.
The focus will now shift to ongoing negotiations between ASUU and the government. Stakeholders will hope that a mutually beneficial agreement will be reached to address the union's concerns and ensure student academic progress is not impacted. In Lagos, for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Many thanks to Ololade. So Omolola Ololade there for that report. Kenneth Ikenwa is a lecturer with the University of Lagos. He joins us here as ASUU continues their demonstrations and rally across universities in the country demanding that the government meet their unmet demands. I mean, one of the things that comes to fore from that report by our correspondent there was just, the frustration from the students about academic disruptions, especially at this time where, exams are underway for the final year students and returning students. But also, most importantly, there's going to be a new session upcoming as well. We know that JAMB has put out that directive that every university must, close the admissions portal as quickly as possible to get started with a new year. And so, with this growing concerns, and frustration, what does it mean for academics? Can ASUU balance this? Can they do this?
Well, we've been doing it for years. I mean, we've been doing it right from when I was an undergraduate in the Nigerian university. I had all my education in this country. And for the 4 years I was in Nigerian university, there was no year where ASUU did not go on strike. So it has been, the recirculation of the same problem, the same demands, all in the interest of Nigerian students and all in the interest of the better and of a greater Nigeria. Now, I think there's a lot of misinformation about, what ASUU is actually fighting for. And ASUU is fighting for the soul of the nation. And the soul of any nation is not politics. The soul of any nation going forward is education. Now, why do I say that? The misinformation is kind of like settled around the fact that maybe ASUU keeps asking for more salaries, and more salaries. It's not just about salaries. It's not just about, extrinsic motivation. But it's about the fact that there is a need for the government to invest in university environment, invest in bringing about or building better infrastructure, invest in ensuring that Nigerian academics are able to carry out their research, carry out their teaching, not just well remunerated, well motivated, but in environments that are conducive, an environment that meets best global standards. Now, like I said, I'm not speaking on behalf of ASUU. Most of the people that you did spotlight in that reportage there were my very, very senior colleagues. Professor Ogbeche is from my department in the University of Lagos. And these have been fighters for the nation. These have been people that have been relentless in asking for the same thing. And what is ASUU asking for? ASUU is not asking for too much. Give us better infrastructure. Give us the better ambience. Give us the fair playing ground with our colleagues internationally. It is sad to see that when Nigerian lecturers go abroad, when we present papers and conferences, most of us come out as the best. Most of us come out on top. But back home, that encouragement is not there. Back home, the motivation is not there. We do not even factor in the devaluation of Nigerian currency and measure that with how lecturers and how teachers especially are supposed to live. Now, let me do this analogy. Back in 2013, the average professor received about 500,000 naira as a monthly salary. That's a professor. Now, $1 back then was about 150 naira to $1, which translated to about $3,000 back then. Now, a present professor in Nigerian Public University is not receiving more than 600,000 naira a month. Now, if $1 is going for 1,500 for $1, how much does that come to? That comes to a $300-400 a month. So look at that retrogression. Look at that regression from receiving $3,000 about 10 years ago in estimate to now $400. How are we expected to cope? These are some of the issues. There are some universities that have infrastructure, that have architecture, that have become obsolete, not conducive for lecturers to teach, not conducive for students to learn, but we have been managing. How long do we manage? And the people that are purportedly supposed to be in charge of policy formulation to spearhead the advancement of the educational sector, most of them, 100% of them, I get to say, have their words, have their children schooling abroad. And some of them were taught by us. So how do we reconcile these contradictions? So these contradictions must be brought to the fore. They must be brought to the front burner. They must be brought to the knowledge of the Nigerian public so that it doesn't seem as though ASUU and members of ASUU always love to go on strike. How do you reconcile the fact that somebody gives his best to the university system, practically almost doesn't go on leave, to ensure that we incubate and produce and graduate the leaders of tomorrow, vis-a-vis giving a bunch of Nigerians who have just gone to sweat it out on the field and paying them $160 million or $100 for just winning an emblem that is plated with gold? These are absurdities. So we must put our, these are absurdities.
Right.
These are absurdities.
Right.
We must say it as it is.
Right. Mr. Ikenwa, I have to ask you, right, because one of the things you said, which I just have been settled on, my mind can't seem to move away from that, is that strikes are not new in the Nigerian system. In fact, you yourself encounter strike every academic year whilst you were in university. And so at this point, it's a cycle and it has to be broken. And for it to be broken, one has to ask whether or not the Nigerian universities can develop alternative, internal funding strategies, or better yet, become private at this point. I mean, when you look at all of the best Ivy League universities in the USA, they're not government-owned or government-funded. They are private and governing bodies who, either fund them and they have, somewhat of a legacy program. Can that work? Is there a way that we can do that, and not, completely lie on the government? Because it seems that at this point, we might be back here again 10 years from now.
Well, there's a way we can achieve this if we decide to have concerted efforts, if we decide to embark on strategic thinking. If the policy formulators will actually have a good conscience enough to be able to do and implement the right policies. Now, let me say that it may not be totally accurate to say that in developed countries, the universities, the top universities that are top in research and development and innovation are not funded by the universities, by the government. You can see that to a great extent, Harvard was getting as much as $5 billion in subvention, from the government until President Trump came with some policies and halted that funding and that subvention. So what is the way forward? Let me just go straight to the way forward. I mean, asking the way forward is like asking a rider to ride a horse without the necessary, capabilities on that horse to have a smooth sail. The Nigerian university system, especially the public university system, cannot have a smooth sail if, one, you do not equip us with the necessary capabilities and necessary competencies and distinctive competencies needed to fund research, needed to fund innovation, and needed to fund the highest level of quality teaching of our undergraduates and of our postgraduate students. Number two, there's a need for us to start, looking at what I call university autonomy and give it a proper definition. But my fear with university autonomy, I don't want to go there because, most of my senior colleagues will call for my head, but there is a need for us to start looking at some degree of autonomy so that universities can be made as we stand to actually generate funds that can be retained in those universities and that can be used for those universities to, to promote learning, to promote development, and to promote innovation. As it is now, whatever internally generated revenue is made by some federal universities and even some state universities is still controlled either by the state government or by the federal government. So once we put these necessary, pillars in place, once we put these necessary pillars for proper organizational architecture in place and the right infrastructure, we can begin to see Nigerian universities being positioned as the leaders in innovation, the leaders in technology, and the leaders in producing globally competitive graduates. Now, let me bust a bubble here. Let me tell Nigerians, some Nigerian universities, primary universities, are older than some universities that have been set up most recently in the last 30 or 40 years in some advanced countries. Presently, those universities are rated ahead of every other Nigerian universities in the Times Education Rating and many other global ratings for first 500 or first 100 universities in the world. Why shouldn't the University of Lagos, founded in 1962, be amongst the first 100 universities in Africa, in the world? I meant to say, these are issues that we should begin to ponder about. Rather than wasting too much funding on who has won a particular cup or who has not won a particular cup and spending so much. I'm not against us motivating our young men and young women that bring glory to the nation, but we cannot kill the educational system. We cannot continue to escalate brain drain and expect that the Nigerian youth will want to stay back here. A lot of our youths are going. Ask every 3 out of 5 Nigerian youths out there. They all want to jack back. I don't know how we're going to stem that tide. And I think when we start looking at these issues realistically, strategically, honestly, and with a national conscience, we can solve this problem once and for all and not continue with this vicious cycle of halting university education and indirectly, promoting alternative sources of education and encouraging capital flight.
Kenneth, I must say thank you for taking out the time to join us, but I must say that I will be going into sports because I also want $100,000 fund, gifts after I come back home with a medal. So do not speak against those who are getting it.
To play football again for Nigeria. Because that's one of the things
I'm planning to do that. Kenneth, I must say thank you.
160 million naira for just winning.
I have to tell you. Kenneth, thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming on. Kenneth, thank you.
Think that a professor will not earn all of that for working for 35
but,
years.
But football, I mean, that's what joins us together, Kenneth. That's football is what unifies us as a nation. And I would that's my side hustle at this point.
Education is what prepares us for economic growth and
development. Of course.
Of course. United.
Yeah, Kenneth, many thanks. We appreciate you for coming on. Kenneth Ikenwa, he is a lecturer with the University of Lagos, giving us a bit of insight as ASUU is going on as a demonstrator rally, asking the government to meet their demands.